Stop scrolling for just a second, because the next few minutes could completely change the way you look at the old pennies sitting in your house. What if one of those little brown wheat pennies you've been ignoring is actually the kind of coin collectors would want to examine very carefully? Many people unknowingly spend old wheat pennies every day simply because they look worn, dirty, or ordinary. But some dates, some surviving examples, and especially coins with attractive original surfaces can become surprisingly valuable in the collector market. Welcome back to Hidden Coin Millions. Today we're looking at 4 wheat pennies that deserve a much closer look. Coins from 1927, 1940, 1945 and 1950. These are not modern coins sitting in your pocket. These are pieces of American history that have survived for generations, passing through countless hands before eventually finding their way into collections, jars, drawers, and forgotten boxes. And here's the warning. Do not spend these coins before checking them. Look carefully at the date. Check the mint mark or the absence of one. Study the color, the surfaces, the amount of wear, and the condition of the details. A coin that looks like an ordinary old penny to one person can become a fascinating discovery to another. Imagine opening an old coin jar and finding a wheat penny that you almost threw away. You turn it over. You check the date. You look at the surfaces. And suddenly, you realize you may have been holding on to something that deserved much more attention. Ya Allah! How many old pennies have we overlooked simply because we thought they were worthless? In this video, we're going through these wheat pennies one by one, looking at their history, designs, mint information, condition, collector interest, and the market values associated with the examples we're featuring. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end, because each coin brings a different story, and one of these dates might be sitting inside your collection right now. So grab your old pennies, check your drawers, open that forgotten coin jar, and get ready, because today we're hunting for hidden treasure in the smallest coins most people ignore. Do not spend these coins. Check your pennies now, and let's find out what you might be holding. First up, before you toss that old penny into a jar, a cash drawer, or even back into circulation, take a second look at the date. We're talking about the 1940 wheat penny, a coin that can look completely ordinary at first glance, yet its age, original surfaces, condition, and collector demand can make certain examples worth a serious amount of money. And the interesting part is that this is a standard issue wheat penny, not some fantasy error or made-up variety. So, if you have an old 1940 penny sitting somewhere in your collection, this is exactly the kind of coin you should slow down and inspect. The 1940 wheat penny was struck during an important period in American history. The United States was approaching a dramatically changing decade, and by the end of 1940, the country was watching the events of World War II unfold overseas. Everyday Americans were still using pennies for ordinary purchases, while the U.S. Mint continued producing enormous numbers of 1-cent coins for commerce. These pennies were not created as collectibles. They were working money, designed to move from hand to hand through stores, banks, pockets, and cash registers. And that is what makes surviving examples interesting today. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. Around his portrait are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1940. Because this example has no mint mark, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and that tiny absence is important. On U.S. coins, the mint mark can tell collectors where a coin was produced, and when there is no mint mark on a wheat penny from this era, Philadelphia is the key location to recognize. Now flip the coin over, because the reverse is where the name wheat penny comes from. You'll see 2 teared ears framing the inscriptions, 1 cent, and United States of America, with the pluribus unum above. Those wheat stalks became one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage and remained on the cent until the design changed in 1959. The standard 1,940 wheat penny is composed primarily of bronze, with a composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures about 19 millimeters in diameter, and is approximately 1.52 millimeters thick. Its edge is plain, with no lettering or decorative reading. But here is where your particular coin gets more interesting. You described this 1,940 wheat penny as having no mint mark, a brown layer, black dots on the reverse, and a circulated condition. Those details matter because collectors don't simply look at the date and immediately decide what a coin is worth. They inspect the surfaces, wear, color, scratches, stains, damage, remaining detail, and overall eye appeal. They also want to know whether the coin has retained its original surfaces. That brown appearance can be completely natural for an old circulated bronze cent, while dark spots may affect the coin's appearance and ultimately its desirability. Condition is especially important. A heavily circulated example and a sharply preserved example of the same date can have dramatically different collector appeal. Attractive original examples become harder to find as the decades pass. Collectors continue searching through old jars, inherited collections, estate boxes, rolls, and forgotten coin accumulations looking for early wheat pennies. Many people unknowingly spend coins like this without ever checking the date. That is why the simple habit of checking your change can sometimes lead to an unexpected discovery. And now comes the number that makes this 1,940 wheat penny worth a much closer look. In today's collector market, this wheat penny can be valued at approximately $24,900, an incredible difference from its original face value of just 1 cent. Its age, history, condition, originality, and collector demand can all influence its value. If you find one, don't spend it, don't clean it, and protect its original surfaces. Remember, a market value like this should never be treated as an automatic price for every 1,940 wheat penny. Actual auction results can vary depending on grade, eye appeal, authenticity, preservation, and buyer demand at the time of sale. Certain specimens have sold for impressive prices, while ordinary worn examples can be worth far less. Serious collectors and dealers examine the coin carefully before assigning a value. So what should you inspect first? Start with the date, 1940th, then check for the absence of a mint mark. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait for remaining detail, examine the lettering, and inspect the reverse wheat ears and central inscriptions. Next, study the surfaces under good lighting. Look for unusual damage, heavy scratches, corrosion, cleaning, or unnatural discoloration. Most importantly, compare the overall preservation rather than focusing on one dark spot or one attractive feature. And please remember this, never clean an old wheat penny because you think you're making it look better. Scrubbing, polishing chemicals, or abrasive materials can permanently damage the original surfaces and may reduce collector interest. Original surfaces matter. If you believe you have an especially well-preserved example, professional grading may be worthwhile. A reputable grading service can authenticate and evaluate the coin's condition, giving serious collectors a standardized way to understand what they are looking at. So before you drop that old penny into a machine, spend it at a store, or throw it into a random container, check the date. A small, copper-colored coin from 1940 may be far more interesting than it looks. Do not spend this coin. Never clean it. Protect it exactly as you found it. And if this 1940 wheat penny already has your attention, Keep watching, because the next coin in our search takes us even deeper into the world of old American coins, and you may have something similar hiding closer than you think. Comment Rare Coins Hunter if you're still watching. I want to know who the real treasure hunters are. Next up, now let's move forward to a coin that can fool you simply because it looks so normal. Take a look at the date on this wheat penny, 1950. At first glance, you might think it's just another old brown cent from your grandparents' collection. But if you find a 1950 wheat penny with no mint mark, and it has survived in beautiful, very fine condition, you should stop before letting it disappear into circulation. This is exactly the kind of old coin collectors want to examine closely. The year 1950 was an important moment in post-war America. World War II had ended only a few years earlier. The United States was entering a new decade, and American life was changing rapidly. Factories were producing consumer goods again, families were rebuilding their routines, and the country was entering the early years of the Cold War. Through all of that, the humble 1-cent piece remained part of everyday American commerce. The 1950 wheat penny was made for one simple purpose: spending. It was ordinary money when it left the mint. Nobody knew that decades later, collectors would be studying these tiny bronze pieces under magnification, comparing their surfaces and searching for attractive, surviving examples. This particular coin has no mint mark. That means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1950, Philadelphia struck 272, 635,000 Lincoln wheat cents without a mint mark. So the absence of a mint mark by itself does not make this coin a rare error or unusual variety. Instead, collectors focus heavily on its date, preservation, color, surfaces, and overall quality. Turn the coin over, and you'll recognize the classic design that made the wheat penny so famous. On the front, or obverse, is Victor David Brenner's portrait of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above him is the inscription, "In God We Trust." To the left is Liberty, and the date 1950 appears on the right side of the portrait. The mint mark, when present, would be below the date. On this example, there is no mint mark, identifying it as a Philadelphia issue. Now look at the reverse. 2 wheat ears frame the inscriptions E pluribus unum, 1 cent, and United States of America. Those wheat stalks are the reason generations of Americans simply called these coins wheat pennies. The design was used from 1909 through 1958, making the 1950 issue part of the final decade of this historic coin series. The physical specifications are also worth remembering. This 1950 cent is made from a bronze alloy containing 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures about 19 millimeters across, and has a plain edge with no lettering or reading. But here is what makes your example more interesting. You described it as having a brown layer, a beautiful appearance, and very fine condition. For collectors, condition can completely change the conversation. A coin that spent decades circulating will naturally develop wear, small marks, and changes in color. A very fine example can still retain meaningful design detail, and an attractive original brown surface can make the coin more appealing than a damaged or harshly cleaned specimen. Collectors also understand something important about survival rarity. More than 272 million Philadelphia examples were struck in 1950, so this is not a coin that should automatically be called rare simply because it is old. The challenge is finding examples that survived with especially pleasing surfaces and strong preservation. As higher quality examples disappear into collections, attractive specimens can become harder to locate, and collectors do look closely at auction activity. High-grade 1,950 Philadelphia cents have brought significant prices at auction, records an auction result of $10,575 for a 1,950 cent graded MS67 Plus red. That kind of result shows why professional collectors pay close attention to condition, color designation, and preservation, rather than simply the date. Now comes the number that could make you look twice at your old coins. A 1,950 wheat penny like this can command approximately $19,600 in today's collector market, despite starting out at just 1 cent. Collectors pay close attention to condition, surviving examples, historical importance, and demand. So if you discover one, keep it exactly as you found it. Never clean or damage it. Of course, a claimed market value should never be treated as a guaranteed selling price for every 1,950 wheat penny. Actual prices can vary dramatically according to grade, authentication, eye appeal, originality, and the strength of bidding when the coin is offered. That is why serious collectors inspect the coin carefully before deciding what it may really be worth. So if you have a 1,950 wheat penny, start with the date. Confirm that there is no mint mark. Then examine Lincoln's hair, cheek, jawline, lettering, and the overall sharpness of the portrait. On the reverse, inspect the wheat ears and the words 1 cent and United States of America. Look for scratches, discoloration, corrosion, polishing, or other surface problems. And please remember this warning: do not spend this coin. Never clean it. Original surfaces matter. Even if the coin looks dirty or brown, resist the temptation to polish it. Cleaning can leave permanent hairlines and unnatural surfaces that collectors may strongly dislike. If your 1,950 wheat penny appears unusually well preserved, professional grading may be worthwhile. A reputable grading service can authenticate the coin and document its condition, giving you a much clearer picture of what you actually have. So check your old jars, inherited coin collections, drawers, and boxes one more time. That little brown penny with 1,950 on the front may look ordinary, but the right combination of date, preservation, originality, and collector demand can make an old 1 cent coin worth taking very seriously. And don't go anywhere, because the next coin in our hunt has another date that could make you look twice at the wheat pennies you already have sitting around your home. Comment Rare Coins Hunter if you're still watching. I want to know who the real treasure hunters are. Next up, there are some old pennies that make you stop because they look extraordinary. And then there are coins that make you stop because they look almost too ordinary. This 1,927 wheat penny belongs to the second group. It has a brown layer, visible dots, and an almost fine circulated appearance. Nothing about that description screams special at first. But when you see the date 1,927 and realize you're looking at a Philadelphia issue with no mint mark, suddenly this little 1 cent coin deserves a much closer inspection. The year 1927 takes us back nearly a century to a completely different America. The country was living through the prosperous but changing years of the 1920s. Automobiles were becoming increasingly common, radios were bringing entertainment into American homes, and people were spending small denomination coins every day on ordinary goods and services. This penny was part of that everyday economy, and that's an important part of its story. The 1927 wheat penny was never created to be a collectible treasure. It was made to circulate. Millions of Americans handled coins like this without giving them a second thought. They traveled through stores, banks, cash registers, pockets, and drawers. Then, year after year, decade after decade, most of those coins disappeared through wear, damage, corrosion, or simply being lost. For 1927, the Philadelphia Mint produced 144 tons, 440,000 Lincoln wheat cents, and Philadelphia coins from this era carried no mint mark. So the missing mint mark on your coin is not a mint error. It is exactly what you should expect from a Philadelphia example. Now look at the obverse. You have Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. Around the portrait are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 1927. Under the date, you would look for a small mint mark. On this example, there isn't one, pointing to Philadelphia. Flip it over, and the classic wheat reverse appears. Two wheat ears surround the words 1 cent and United States of America, while E pluribus unum is positioned above. Those wheat stalks are what gave the entire series its famous nickname, the wheat penny. Physically, this is a bronze Lincoln cent made from approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams, measures approximately 19 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain edge. But now we get to the details that collectors actually care about. You described this particular 1927 penny as brown, with dots, and in almost fine circulated condition. That means we need to pay attention to the surfaces rather than simply getting excited about the date. Brown coloration can be completely normal on an old bronze cent, while spots or dark dots may affect its eye appeal. Collectors inspect the amount of wear, remaining detail, surface marks, scratches, discoloration, corrosion, and whether the coin still has its original surfaces. And there is an important reality here. The 1927 Philadelphia cent is not automatically rare just because it is nearly 100 years old. More than 144 million were produced. What becomes much harder to find is an especially well-preserved example with attractive original surfaces. That distinction matters. Estimates that only a fraction of the original 1927 Philadelphia cents survive in higher grades, with its survival estimate dropping dramatically for coins at mint state levels. An auction history shows just how much collectors can pay when preservation reaches an exceptional level. A 1927 Philadelphia Lincoln cent, graded MS68RD, reached an auction record of $40,800 in January 2025. That doesn't mean every circulated 1927 penny is worth anywhere near that amount. It means condition can completely change the story. And now comes the number that could make you look twice at this old coin. From an original face value of only 1 cent, this 1927 wheat penny can reach approximately $39,700 in today's collector market. Collectors look closely at preservation, surviving examples, historical significance, and demand. If you have one, keep it untouched and avoid cleaning or damaging the coin. Remember, that stated market value is for the example described here, not a guarantee that every 1927 no-mint mark wheat penny will sell for that amount. Actual prices depend heavily on authentication, grade, surface quality, color, eye appeal, and buyer demand. Auction results can vary considerably. So if you find a 1927 wheat penny, don't just look at the date and put it away. Check the mint mark area. Examine Lincoln's portrait. Look carefully at the lettering and date. On the reverse, inspect both wheat ears and the central inscriptions. Then study those dots and brown surfaces closely. Are they simply natural age and circulation, or is there damage that affects the coin's condition? And whatever you do, Do not try to make it look better with polish. Never clean it. Original surfaces matter. Cleaning can leave scratches, unnatural shine, and permanent damage that collectors may immediately notice. If your coin appears significantly better preserved than expected, professional grading may be worthwhile, because authentication and an independent grade can make a major difference when serious money is involved. So check those old jars. Check inherited collections. Check the forgotten pennies sitting in drawers. A 1927 wheat penny may have passed through countless American hands before ending up with you. And sometimes the most important clue is simply a date that you almost ignored. Do not spend this coin. Protect it, preserve its original surfaces, and take a closer look before deciding what you have. And keep watching, because our next wheat penny takes us to another date, and another reason you should never assume an old 1-cent coin is worthless just because it looks ordinary. Comment Rare Coins Hunter if you're still watching. I want to know who the real treasure hunters are. Next up, imagine finding a penny that was already more than 7 decades old before you ever had the chance to hold it. That is what makes this 1945 wheat penny so fascinating. Look closely at the date. 1945. This was not just another year in American history. It was the final year of World War II. Millions of Americans were living through rationing, wartime production, and enormous changes at home and abroad. And while all of that was happening, this tiny 1-cent coin was quietly moving through everyday American life. The 1945 wheat penny was ordinary money when it was made. People used coins like this for groceries, newspapers, transportation, and countless small purchases. Nobody knew which pennies would eventually survive for generations. Today, collectors search through old collections, inherited jars, and forgotten boxes looking for examples that still have attractive original surfaces. Your example has no mint mark, which identifies it as a Philadelphia issue. Philadelphia produced more than 1,1945 Lincoln cents, 1040s, 515,000 to be exact. So the missing mint mark is completely normal for this issue. It is not a mint error or unusual variety. Now take a close look at the front. The obverse features Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head is the inscription, "In God We Trust." To the left is liberty, while the date, 1945, appears on the right. On a Philadelphia example like this one, there is no mint mark beneath the date. Turn it over and you get the classic wheat reverse. 2 wheat ears frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, while E pluribus unum appears above them. Those wheat stalks are what gave this entire series its famous nickname, the wheat penny. And despite its small size, this coin has some very specific physical characteristics. The 1945 Philadelphia cent was made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19 millimeters across, and has a plain edge. But now, look at the condition you described: brown dots and fine condition. This is where collectors become much more careful. A brown appearance can be completely natural on an old bronze cent, especially one that has spent decades in circulation. But those dots and other surface marks can influence eye appeal. Collectors inspect the coin under good lighting, looking at Lincoln's hair and facial details, the lettering, the date, the wheat ears, and the overall amount of wear. They also look for scratches, corrosion, harsh cleaning, discoloration, and anything that might have disturbed the original surfaces. And there is an important reality about this particular date. The 1945 Philadelphia cent was produced in enormous numbers, So simply finding a 1,945 penny does not automatically make it rare. Estimates that many examples still survive across all grades, but the number drops considerably as you move into higher quality condition levels. That is why preservation matters so much. Auction history shows that exceptional 1,945 Philadelphia cents can attract serious collector attention. For example, records a $20,400 auction result for an exceptionally high-grade 1,945 Philadelphia cent graded MS67 plus RD. That does not mean an ordinary circulated 1,945 penny will bring anything close to that amount. It demonstrates something much more important. Condition can completely transform the market value of a coin. And now comes the number that makes this particular 1,945 wheat penny worth a much closer look. From an original face value of just 1 cent, this coin can reach approximately $27,500 in today's collector market. Collectors look closely at preservation, surviving examples, historical significance, and demand. If you have one, keep it untouched and avoid cleaning or damaging the coin. But remember, a stated market value is not a guaranteed selling price for every 1,945 no mint mark wheat penny. Actual prices can vary dramatically depending on authentication, grade, color, surface quality, eye appeal, and the strength of collector demand when the coin is offered at auction. So if you discover one, start with the basics. Confirm the date says 1945. Check that there is no mint mark. Examine Lincoln's portrait and the lettering. Then turn it over and study the wheat ears and inscriptions. Pay particular attention to the surfaces and the amount of wear. And please, do not try to make an old penny shiny. Never clean it. Do not polish it, scrub it, or put chemicals on it. Original surfaces matter, and cleaning can leave permanent hairlines or unnatural surfaces that collectors may immediately recognize. If your example appears unusually well preserved, or you believe it could have significant value, professional grading may be worthwhile. This is exactly why you should check your old wheat pennies before spending them. Many people unknowingly spend coins like this without ever looking at the date. A little penny from the final year of World War II may have history in every mark on its surface, and if the preservation is right, collectors may take a very serious interest in it. So do not spend this coin. Never clean it. Protect the original surfaces, keep it safe, and have it professionally evaluated if its condition appears exceptional. And we are not finished yet. Keep watching, because the next wheat penny brings another old date into the spotlight, and it may give you one more reason to check every wheat penny hiding in your collection. Comment Rare Coins Hunter if you're still watching. I want to know who the real treasure hunters are.